Hey Raul, welcome back to another video about something that you've done and you don't want to forget over time. This time is gonna be the installation of Raspbian on your Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. And so I'm doing this because even though when you bought this device the operating system was pre-installed and the only thing I did was to follow the steps, the wizard, to deploy this operating system. As part of my collaboration on this project, the Geoffrey project, which is something I will work on my spare time, and there will be some videos coming up. And as part of this collaboration, I need to have fresh Raspbian installation in my Raspberry Pi 3. So I did it once. It's a very easy step to follow, but you need to go over the documentation, and that's time consuming. My idea is to have a very short video, maybe 10 minutes or so, and with the whole process. So the next time you need to do it, you will go straight away over the video, and you will be able to reproduce this stuff in a very short time. So I'm using the blog post that I'm going to publish or to release in some minutes once the video is recorded and edited. And so as you can see, all the steps are detailed in the post itself. So the first thing you have to do is to download the Raspbian image. I'm going to use the minimal image because I'm not interested in the additional software that the other images include. At the time of writing this blog post or making this video, which is September 2019, this is the latest Raspbian Buster Lite. Raspbian is an operating system for the Raspberry Pi based on Debian, and the latest version of Debian is Debian Buster or Debian 10. And so I already downloaded the zip file. We will check that we downloaded the right image by checking the hash of the image. The next step, once you have the image, is to prepare the whole thing. So this is my Raspberry Pi, and I'm using a USB SD card reader, and this is going to be needed just to upload the image or dump the image into the SD card and do the rest of the stuff. So there is a SD card slot in the Raspberry Pi at the bottom of the Raspberry Pi, so you need to remove the SD card, as you can see here, and finally put it into the USB SD card reader. Once you have everything like this, you will plug the USB into your computer, your laptop, and you will follow these instructions. So actually have everything open. So in this tab, you have the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, the one that I'm going to use. And so this is what you saw in the previous picture, but I'm using the box just to avoid breaking the Raspberry Pi and all those things. This is the website from the Raspbian. As you can see, is the mix of Raspbian, Raspberry Pi and Debian, and so that's where the name is coming from. And this is the instruction that I'm going to follow. And so very quickly, you need to identify the device name for the SD card, and you will use this command to do so. And once you understand the name of the device, in our case is going to be SDV, if I don't remember bad, we are going to use the DD command to dump the image into the device. But before doing so, we need to unzip the file that we downloaded from the internet and check that everything is okay. We will check the hash of the image to be sure that we are not getting something else. Once this is finished, that's pretty much all. And so you will have all the binaries available in the SD card. And so from that point on, we can continue with the installation process. So I'm not going to use any monitor and any keyboard, so that means I need to configure the access to the Wi-Fi network automatically and to enable the access, the secure access to the Raspberry Pi by SSH by doing a previous step. And all is detailed, it's all detailed in this section in the Raspberry Pi official website documentation. And so we need to copy this file, and obviously we need to replace this with our information. This is something I'm not going to show in the video, otherwise you can come home and start stealing my Wi-Fi, and that cannot happen. And how to enable SSH, so that's something that I'm also going to do. And finally, in order to test that everything is properly up and running, we will access to the Raspberry Pi via SSH. So that's pretty much all. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's check that we downloaded the proper image. So here I have my two terminals as usual, and in this folder I have the two files that I need. So this is going to be SHA-256M, and we are going to use the file name as a parameter, and I will come up with a number. Okay, and let's see. This is 9E5C, starting with these four letters and numbers. It's okay, and end up in B70E. Probably the rest of the numbers are okay, so actually they're okay because I checked this beforehand, but in your case do it one more time, so spend some time checking that the number is the right number. Cool, next thing we are going to do is to unzip the image, and we will go straight to this installation guide. So let's go back and zip the zip file. It will take a while. Next thing we need to do is to identify where the USB SD card reader is recognized by my system. So in order to do so, we have to use the lsblk command. This is the command that we are going to use. And as you can see, this is the one identifying the SD card, which is 16 gigs size. This is the main system, the main disk for my Linux system. So this is the one we have to work with. Okay, next thing we need to provide is the dd command, and this is the default one. This should work, and actually it worked when I gave it a try, but there is another option where you can see the progress. There you go. So this is the one. And so dd here we need to provide the image name, and then we can copy the rest. So this is gonna be SDB, and the additional two parameters, and we need to execute this as a root user, and we will see the progress. This will take a while, and actually I will stop the video. I will cut the video to make this faster. Okay, so the image is finally dumped into the SD card. It took some minutes, and so if we run the lsblk command one more time, so you will see that we have a different size for the partitions. So right now there are two partitions. This is the boot partition, where we need to put the two files in order to have the automatic installation and actually the automatic setup to the Wi-Fi network and the SSH server enabling. and the size is smaller. That means, or maybe you might be thinking, that it's not going to take advantage of all the space available in the SD card. But that's far from reality. Once you start up the Raspbian for the first time, what is going to happen is that this partition is going to be expanded or extended to the rest of the size available, as you can see here. And that's something that I noticed at the very beginning, so I thought I would have to do something to extend this partition manually, but it happens automatically, so that's really smart from these guys. Cool, so we have everything ready to continue with the process. So this is done. Step number 2 is done. Let's go to step number 3. So we need to provide a couple of files. First of all, this file with the configuration to access your Wi-Fi network, as I mentioned before, and we need to create an empty file to tell Raspbian to enable the SSH server. Everything is detailing here. So this is the file we need to copy, and we need to create the empty file. And this needs to happen in the boot partition. The boot partition is the following one, the SDB1, and this is a VFAT partition, meaning that if you are using a Windows machine, you have access to it, and it's going to be called boot, the boot volume. And actually I think you can make it work from a Mac computer as well. In our case, we're going to mount it locally by using the mount tool under this folder. If we display the contents, you will see that there are many binary files. There is the kernel image. Probably these files are representing firmware for the network device and all those things. And here is where we are going to copy this file with the Wi-Fi network configuration. And there we go. And we will create an empty file, touch, MNT, USB, SSH. And this will tell the Raspbian installer to enable the SSH server. And that's pretty much all. So let's mount it. I'm going to remove the USB SD card reader. I will plug the SD card into the Raspberry Pi with the Raspbian image on it, and I will plug the cable to start it up. Okay, here it is. It's starting up. The LEDs are blinking, which means it's doing something. The next thing that we need to do is to identify the IP address provided by the Wi-Fi router, and so the network is configured via DHCP, so we don't know which IP address is going to be assigned. So let's go to the router. Okay, this is in Spanish, but it's fine. And here in the main window, I have all the devices connected. And there we go. This is the Raspberry Pi. So we click in information, you will see that this is the IP address provided by the router. If we go to the terminal window one more time and we ping that IP address, you will see now it's responding, and I can try to access to it. And in order to do so, coming back to the blog post, you need to visit this page under the official documentation, and you will see the different ways of accessing to the Raspberry Pi through SSH depending on the operating system. So those steps are for enabling SSH, but we did it automatically by creating the empty SSH file, so we can skip all these steps, and you need to go straight to these links. So if you're using Linux or Mac, you need to test this out. And we are going to run SSH. Pi is the name of the username at the IP address, and the default password is Raspberry, which we need to modify, of course. SSH pi at 192.168.0.2, yes, and Raspberry, and here we are. Next step would be to modify this password, because obviously this is the default password and anybody could get access to the system. And this is pretty much all. And so hope this is going to refresh everything you did, and next time you need to flash a Raspberry Pi, and you can use this video to make it fast. Bye, and see you next time, and see you in the future, of course.